Hello, welcome to Aircraft Maintenance Practices Unit 6 lecture. In this lecture, we will cover the sealant application. And the students will need to know the types and purposes of sealant and the correct procedures used for applying them. The primary purpose of sealant application is to prevent movement of liquid or gas from one point to another. Sealants are used in an aircraft to maintain cabin pressure, prevent fuel leak, prevent passage of fumes, prevent corrosion, waterproof or weatherproof the airframe. Last but not least, fill the gaps and smooth discontinuities on aircraft exterior. So on this picture here, this is the integral fuel tank where you can see that sealants as shown here has been applied to prevent fuel leak and passage of fumes. Types of sealant. There are three general categories: friable, drying, and curing. Sealant use depends on the service condition, purposes, and where it is to be applied. Drying sealant. Set and cure by evaporation of the solvent. Amount of solvent added affect the application consistency, that means the viscosity, dry consistency or hardness, and the shrinkage after drying. Friable sealant is a one-part sealant cured by reaction with moisture in the air. Example, silicon sealing compound. It's ready for use as package. Most of the time are solid and change very little during or after application. Easily adhere to metal, glass, and plastic surfaces. So example of usage will be around access panels, doors, and where pressurization cavities must be maintained. Curing sealants. The two-part sealants, base compound and catalyst. It's a very common use two-part sealants on aircraft works. The catalyst or accelerator, or also known as hardener, are added for curing. It is very important to mix the accelerator and compound accurately by means of volume or weight. And they should thoroughly mix with the base compound before application to ensure complete and even cure. The advantage over drying sealants is they are able to transform from a fluid or semi-fluid state into solid by chemical reaction rather than by evaporation of a solvent, thus giving you a better sealing capability and application. Sealing compounds are classified by MIL and BMS. This is a typical part number for a two-part sealant, MIL-S-8802 class A-hard. So what does this mean? MIL-S-8802 represent a temperature-resistant two-part sealants, synthetic rubber compound, and class A actually referring to the application method, the viscosity of the sealant. Class A can be applied by brush, B will be using extrusion gun or spatula spreading method, and C will be actually frame sealing surface. So we have class A, B, C type of sealant, and followed by the last two digits, half, which is the allowed time in hours before the curing cycle. That is the application time. That means after you have mixed the two-part sealant, you have half an hour for the application time. After half an hour, the sealant will be hardened and the mixed sealant will be hardened and you can't apply on the surfaces. So you have to discard away and remix. So over here, class A is brushing, is low viscosity as compared to B and C. B is used where extruding, is higher viscosity and low lump, and class C is rolling or spray gun where it's a medium viscosity for good spread ability. So can you interpret the information on this label? Okay, AMS hyphen S hyphen 8802A. So it's a class A sealant. B half. So it's half an hour application. Just remember, example, you mix this sealant at 10 o'clock. By 10:30 to 10:35, plus minus, this two-part sealant mixed will be cured, or so-called unable to apply onto the fraying surface. All right. So most of the time, this is important if you know that your tea break time is 10 to 10:20 and you are supposed to mix your sealant at 9:50, then it doesn't make sense. So if you will have to make a sealant in this B half, then it will be best after your tea break. Otherwise, you actually mix it and go for a tea break, come back, the sealant can be discarded and it's a waste. All right, and do take note that all types of sealants you use will have expiry date, POL. Or POLs, petroleum oil lubricants used in aviation, comes with expiry date. So in this case, it's October 2004. So anything before that, you can use the date. Anything after the date, you have to discard it. All right, please do not use expired POLs. Right, so this is a typical two-part sealant. Below is a base compound. It can be white. Most of the time, it's white or cream color, and the catalyst or accelerator, which is in black. So CS3204 refer to fuel tank sealants. All right, class B. Okay, class B, class A, class B, class C. So and B quarter. So actually, it's only 1/4 hour. So it's 0.25 hour. All right, 0.25 hour is about 0.25, 15 minutes. That means once you mix this sealant, you only have 15 minutes application time. So it's quite rush. So we try to mix it in a small amount compounds and use finish, then we remix again. Although it's very troublesome, but then again, to minimize wastage. So how, as I mentioned earlier, how do you know that the part of base compound and the part of accelerator is in equal weight or volume? All right, most of the time we will use weight. Okay, instruction will say that seven parts of base compound will be 1 part of the accelerator. So 7 grams is to 1 gram example. So in this case, you will use a weighing machine. All right, and you mix a weighing machine with using a weighing machine to weigh the compound and the catalyst to ensure that the mixture ratio is observed and followed. All right, so class B is meant for extruding or fillet type of sealant seal. So it has a higher viscosity compared to class A. So do take note that it will have a acceptable fillet type configuration where most of the time unacceptable will be lack of sealant applied on the fillet. All right. So just remember the few purposes of sealant application is to prevent transfer of fluid and fumes, all right, and aerodynamic issues. So a proper fillet sealing compound will ensure that all these are achieved. Class C is meant for flaying sealing, so it's a medium viscosity and good spreadability. So before you want to install any stiffener on the skin, you actually have to do a flay seal between the stiffener and skin. This is to prevent possible dissimilar metal corrosion if both are in different alloy content, and also to ensure that there's no fluid or moisture that is trapped in between the two parts that may result in a possible corrosion occurrence. Application of sealant, the general rule of thumb is always check the expiry date, and you should not be used if one is expired. And of course, once the application time limits has set, and also the metal should surface should not be colder than 70 degrees F or 20 degrees Celsius. Alright, use only approved sealants for the correct location, and this will be mentioned in the aircraft maintenance. Tools used in the application of sealant. These are the types of tools available for sealant application. Nozzle gun, where you pre-pack all the sealant into the nozzle and use a nozzle gun with assist of a pneumatic air to propel out the sealant and carry out a fillet seal on the large surfaces or large working area. Or you can use a roller, which is a class C type of sealant. Then for localized area, small area, you can use spatula to spread the sealant. Do take note the tooling shown here in red is called scrappoles. It's meant for removing of existing aircraft sealant on. Sealant application method. There are various methods to be used when applying sealant. There are videos in later part of the slides you can click on to watch sealant application. So sealant can be applied by brushing, dipping, using injection gun, the sealant gun, spatulas, and rolling. Alright, so before you apply the sealant, ensure that it's thoroughly cleaned with solvents to remove any oil, dirt, or contamination. And a good application of sealant should produce a continuous bead film or fillet over the sealed area. So avoid air bubbles, voids, metal chips, or oily contamination that will prevent an effective seal in this case. So these are the samples for sealant application. Right. Pre-packed seals are installed prior to assembly. The few structural cavities that are enclosed after assembly and cannot be properly injected. So that means before you apply any assembly parts to be installed, make sure that you have a flay seal on the surface. Okay. So the other one would be a sealant over the fasteners. This will actually prevent moisture from getting into the fastener installation, or for any fumes or escape of pressurization air from the aircraft structure. Alright, so this will give you a proper sealing effect. Types of seals. Fillet sealing as shown here. So it gives a maximum protection from fluid leakage, especially from integral fuel tank and cabin pressure. So spread in approximately 3 foot 1 meter increments. Alright. Before proceeding to the next increment, work with the sealant spatula or tool to fill the voids in the seam and eliminate air bubbles. It will be easier to watch a video to understand what you mean by that, and always push the sealant, okay, to ensure a proper sealing effect. Alright, and after the sealant has cured to a tack-free condition, the fillet should be inspected for any remaining air bubbles. So what do you mean by tack-free type? Later, I think this term will be explained in later slides. But what do you mean by tack-free in this case will be when you use a masking tape or a tape to touch on the fillet surface, it shouldn't transfer any sealant onto the tape when you remove. So that's tack-free. Same thing, you use your hand to touch it, the existing sealant should not transfer from the fillet seal to your hand. So that's considered tack-free condition. Alright. So the rest will be air bubbles must be filled with additional sealant, and when a heavy fillet is required, it should be applied in layers. Alright, so that means you should apply multiple layers of fillet. Injection sealing is used pressure filling of opening of void with a sealant injection gun as shown here. So yep, this is where aircraft structure antenna. So there's a gasket. So this type of injection sealing will fill the gaps and cavities. All right. Okay, types of seals. Frame sealing is to prevent electrolytic corrosion to structure. All right. It should apply before any fastening process or riveting process. So refer to the structure repair manual SR in this case, and careful planning is necessary for fraying surface seals on large assembly within application time limit of the seal. Alright, so you remember your sealant have, if let's say it's a B hub, you have half an hour to finish the riveting. Okay, please take note of that. If you have a few hundreds of rivets to install, then the structure repair manual should recommend you a higher application time, which is maybe 2 hours to 4 hours. It depends on the type of sealants available or as per the brush coat seal. So it's a pre-coat before fillet sealing in the integral fuel tank. The seal exposed ends of the fasteners against corrosion. Okay, so this is we call it a brush coat seal. So the rivets, reef nuts, or screws are brush coat over the protruding portion on the pressure side. Alright, so some are over the washer or on the sprit go mat. So all these are known as brush coat seals. Okay, as shown here. Okay, this is a cross section. So the fasteners are capped with sealant. Safety precaution when carry out sealant application. Sealants used may be flammable or may produce toxic vapors or fume. So make sure that all source of ignition must be at least 50 feet away from the location of work, and all work area must be well ventilated. Do not mix your sealant in an air conditioned room. Alright. Also, you do not eat or smoke when working with sealant terms. The term cure is a process of hardening or settling of the sealing compounds by means of chemical reaction and solvent evaporation. A curing time is the time required to reach this stage. Alright, so curing may be hastened by applying heat, using infrared light, or clean dry hot air. Right. Application time is the time that the mixed compound remains suitable for application by brush and extrusion gun. Okay. Then last is tag-free, which we mentioned earlier. So it shouldn't be a transfer of sealant when a sheet of cellophane is pressed onto the sealant. And a sealant must be cured to a tag-free condition before applying any top coating of paint. That is what we're referring to. So a tag-free can be about 1 to 2 hours, but a cure time can take us up to 24 hours, generally. So a practical tips on using sealant: always check the label and expiry date. Use a clean tool to apply the sealant. Alright. Use cutting tools made of plastic or hardwood material to remove sealant. Always remember to not use metallic tooling to remove sealant, as you may scratch the aircraft structure. Okay, please take note of that. You have to use plastic or hardwood as shown here, acrylic. Surface preparation is very important, as if the surface is oily or dirty, your sealing compound may not adhere properly. Always push the sealant with a bit in front, so it's a pressure application, so also to remove any trapped air. So how do we carry out sealant application? First, surface preparation. Thoroughly clean the surface with solvents. Then select the sealants to be applied by referring to structure repair manual or aircraft maintenance manual. Mix the sealant using the weighing machine in a proper ratio. Then apply the sealant. Okay, and then wait for the cure time to reach and inspect the sealant, then close the job. Learning videos. This is one of the videos for sealant management. You can click on the link from the presentation slides, or you can use the QR code to launch the video. The next will be aircraft sealant introduction. So same thing, you can use the QR code to launch a video, or go to the blackboard presentation slides there and go to the end of this sealant application unit. Thank you for your time.